What's up, Mike? Paul?
What's up,
Nick,
buddy?
how's it going?
That's good. I'm sitting down today, as you can see. I
Yes, in your ghetto chair.
Yeah,
I know
what's wrong
my
with your chair?
my chair feels like I feel right now. It's a little worn, a little tattered. I tried to lift up my youngest and put him in his like high chair things, and just kind of slipped to
Is
the
it
lower
was
Threw
it
out your
too
back.
back.
was it too tall for you?
Yeah, I thought I was supposed to make the stupid, terrible jokes.
Can't help it. When you lob a softball like that, I have to jump all over it.
Yeah, no, like I hate stickiness. Okay. So like I don't even love my kids if they're sticky. They have to get clean first. And he's eating pancakes, he's got syrup all over him. I take his shirt completely off. I put him in his thing and I'm like reaching out like that so I don't get sticky. And then I'm like, oh gosh, oh I'm old. So getting
Starts
old.
to happen.
Yeah,
You do
it
some core
does.
exercises, Nick.
I know, I do. Maybe if I was the perfect man, I'd have better abs like you, Paul.
You can still do core exercises and be able to play with your kids as they get bigger.
Yeah. We
Wrestle.
don't really get that big.
Although it's gonna be really weird in 5 years if you're still putting him in a high chair.
Yeah. That would be weird.
Well, he's got the new one coming that's
That's
gonna be a
true.
high
Yeah.
chair.
Ultrasound
So
this morning, everything's happy and healthy, and wife is
awesome. That's
happy, and there's something about it, guys, when when you hear that little
Yeah.
the heartbeat thing, it's always special. Even it's my 5th time, and it's still pretty amazing.
we have a couple of Gen CNCers with us right now.
Yeah. Who are they? Introduce them.
Well, so yeah, we have Sean and Sinjon from Three Rivers Precision. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Yeah, glad to be here.
We're glad you're here. Yeah, so we're featuring this series of shop founders under 30, and you guys qualify, and we chatted on LinkedIn a little bit and invited you, and you were game. So yeah, let's start by you guys sharing a little bit of your background, even before you started the shop, and sort of what led to starting Three Rivers.
Sure. We both went to the University of Pittsburgh in the engineering department, mechanical engineering. That's where we met. Um, and we worked together on the human powered vehicle team, which is, sort of like the FSAE, I guess, but there's a lot less going on because it's basically a bicycle.
Less horsepower.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's say so human powered. Is that like the
Yes.
Flintstones? Like
No,
you
it's essentially a bicycle, but there's some special rules, like it's gotta have a roll cage, it's gotta be able to carry a certain amount of equipment, and I forget what some of the rules are. It's gotta have a harness, it's gotta have a seat, so it's not quite a bicycle, but it's essentially a bicycle, that we
Is it a recumbent, like fully enclosed with bodywork?
didn't have to be fully enclosed, it just has to have a roll cage, but most of the bikes end up being recumbents, that's what ours was. Um,
Super
so
cool.
yeah, so that's where we met. We did that group together. Our friend Abe's founded the Pitt chapter of that club when we were both juniors or sophomores or something like that. Um, and then we got involved there, and that got us both into the machine shop there. So that's kind of where the initial interest came from, I guess.
making parts for your human powered bike,
Right.
bike car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was the one
Beautiful.
year we designed this, front wheel drive multi-chain drivetrain system that required a custom hub and some custom machined brackets that I don't think I ended up machining those, but I had to design them for machining, which I thought was very interesting at the time.
And then as students, did you have access to the machine shop yourself, or did you have staff members that made things for you?
So I actually worked. So the University of Pittsburgh has a machine shop for the mechanical engineering department, and my student job while I was at Pitt was as a student machinist.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
So I learned a lot. I feel like my first real introduction to running manual equipment was there, and towards like my senior year, I was able to set up on like a Haas VF2, like basic 3-axis milling, and that was my real like formal introduction to if you're going to machine something precisely to a print. And it was a lot of doing like research group projects as well as student senior design projects. So the machine shop had like a pretty advanced laser cutting setup, as well as, bridge ports and smaller format lathes. It was a great place to learn, get introduced to a lot of that stuff.
So awesome. It just reminds me of Paul and Mike, you were both like commenting on the post I made about there was a map of all the states, the most educated states, and
Yeah.
then a map of like the per capita jobs in manufacturing for each state. And I started this whole like mathematical rabbit trail that a couple people went down on like how those match up and which states are investing in manufacturing and what do we consider educated? And is educated just because you have degrees or is educated because you have some skills? And what I love about your story so far is yes, it's the answer is yes. Like you have
Right.
some skills that you got while you were getting your degree at Pitt. And that is more of that, right, guys? I mean, gosh, how do we get more of that?
But
So
yeah, it's hard. I mean, we were talking about this earlier today. Like, you wanted to get those sorts of hands-on experiences, you really had to advocate for yourself, at least at our university. I imagine there's other college programs where they have more formal labs that expose you, but it'd be pretty easy to go through your entire education at Pitt and never step foot in a machine shop
Yeah.
or have to get anything made. Uh,
Mhm.
we see that when we work with customers who are recent graduates that have never made anything. So
yeah.
having had those experience as students was super valuable for us as designers, and we go to make things. I don't think it's necessarily a fault of the student. It's
No, I
just
think it should be super hard to get through a mechanical engineering degree without stepping foot in a machine shop. I think that
Yeah.
should be super like, what?
It should be a
yeah,
mandatory class, at
Yeah.
least
absolutely.
basic machining class.
I
Yeah.
do find it, I find it interesting. I feel like it's the third time in as many weeks though that I've heard about someone's first exposure to machining was at college, a shop at
Mm,
college.
that's
Well,
that
and
was
yeah, Paul,
Yeah.
that was
exactly
you. I was on the board of one of our local like makerspace
Hmm.
types things, and then I guess maybe 2 years ago now, it got acquired. I mean, it was a nonprofit, so it was kind of a whole other thing we put together. But it was acquired by the engineering department of my alma mater, and so now that engineering department has access to a machine shop, a wood shop, a additive. I can't, there's several things. Yeah, it's interesting. So I wonder if that trend's growing even more. I don't know. I just feel like we're hearing it more and more.
Yeah, they certainly, while we were there, they created a makerspace that was never in existence before. I don't know what equipment they have now, but back then they had, 3D printers, drills, hand tools, all this other kind of stuff that you wouldn't really have access to if you were living in the dorms.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's even more extensive now.
Absolutely. Did like a basic router, like a 2.5 like axis router, and some basic laser cutting stuff when we left.
yeah,
So
that's
was it
cool.
just like love at first part then for you guys? You got to make some parts and you fell in love with machining or
Good question.
I think, yeah. I don't know. I think so. At least for me, it was like really sweet. One of my early internships was a like design engineering role, and we were doing like prototypes for they made like a building science company, so they're developing a new product to like change the way that we manage climates in houses. And they had like pretty basic prototyping space. And it's really cool working with one of the like more veteran members of that team to like make something. And we went to the test home, we installed it. And it's like, oh, this is a cool process. And I found myself being really attracted to the construction part of it. And so being able to take that to a level of higher accuracy, like what you can achieve at that was really exciting once I saw how that can all start to come together.
Yeah.
So did you guys start the shop right out of college, or yeah, take us after the student project? What was
Yeah, so after we graduated, I worked for not very long, less than a year, at a steelmaking facility in Pittsburgh. Um, and I was on the maintenance department. I was like a mechanical engineer in the maintenance department. And I found myself in the machine shop there a lot. They just had a couple of bridge ports, two or three or four like pretty large lathes, or larger than anything I've seen since, like 8 foot long lathes. And at that time, they didn't have any kind of machinist. Um, so I was in there somewhat often, modifying random little bits and bobs for the this facility made stainless steel pipe and tube. So there's these forming dies and then a welding system that would weld them after they were formed.
Hmm.
So I found myself making a lot of parts in there. Uh, and that was it was a cool job. It was interesting. It was, I don't know, not the most pleasant environment. And Sinjin was working at another machine, like a real machine shop in town, like CNC machine shop. And he was like, "Oh, you should come by and take a look." And then I came by and took a look, and turned out they were sort of looking for somebody. So I applied and ended up getting a job there. Um,
What were you doing there, Sinjin?
Yeah, that was so at University of Pittsburgh they have an engineering co-op rotation where you take a semester off, you work full time. So you're required to do like 3 whatever rotations of that. And I was doing like one of my co-op rotations at this shop at that time. You're like a year ahead of me in school, I guess. You had graduated. And yeah, when I was leaving, the shop owner was like, we're gonna need somebody to come onto the team. Do you know anybody? So Sean's interested. Uh, Actually, after I graduated, I went on and took a job there, and that's where Sean and I worked for the next like 5 years.
Okay.
So it was actually that shop was also a young founder case. He was somebody I knew when I worked in the student machine shop at Pitt, who after he graduated started the machine shop.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah, and so he, was definitely an early mentor for both of us. Like, yeah, let's get after it. We'll figure it out. It was like a really exciting place to work. We were given a lot of responsibility and opportunity that maybe we would not have had in a more established shop.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to be there early on and see that growth and, be given a lot of responsibility really fast. And yeah, I think a lot of the skills we have now are a result of being in that environment.
And were you working both on the floor as like programmer machinist and
Mhm.
also just like office project management, who knows what?
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
had various roles there. We both started out just as, programming machinists. At the time, they didn't have any operators. It was just engineering types who would, design all the fixtures and do all the cam and do all the setup and do all the cycling. It was just like you took your project from start all the way to finish. It was very different back then. So we were able to learn a lot. We learned a lot of the different steps of the process and how things went, and did some customer communication and all that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah. I think we both started as machinists. Then we were like team leads. So as the company grew, we hired more people. And I was like on the evening shift and ran that team for several years. And then at the end, I was in a manufacturing engineering role. So I was doing a lot of customer facing, a lot of estimating and project planning. But you were just like lead machinist stuff. So it's cool. Got to wear a lot of hats. Got to get exposed to things. I think, at least for me, being in like a project management estimating role was really eye opening, especially when we started to think about going our own way. So I like had a feel for the sorts of numbers that move around in this industry. And I was like, okay, this is what it costs. This is what you can charge people. This is like what people are looking for. So I was able to like really see like very plainly the numbers of the trade, which made it pretty obvious to me like how and what needs to happen to make things work.
So what did that transition start to look like? So you'd been there a few years.
yeah, I mean, when the company started, it was very, it's very small. We were taking lots of interesting prototype work, but that was very, management intensive. So that company started going in a direction where they wanted to do more production work, more higher volume stuff. So there just like wasn't quite as much of a need for as many people like us anymore. And as that transition happened, they started to kind of crack down on rules and stuff like that. The way that they operate, like a traditional machine shop is very like you have to work these exact hours, you have to take your lunch this time. It's all this stuff, and it's like it's not why we started working there. So we're like, okay, this is no longer what we kind of had signed up for. I mean, they're still doing very well. It's not like it's just a different direction than we originally intended. So it's like, okay, there's not really a place for us here anymore. At least not one that's enjoyable to any parties involved. Like I'm sure our old boss was annoyed that we were always kind of pushing back at all these new changes, and I'm sure obviously we were annoyed that all these changes were happening. So it was okay. The options are either we can get jobs as engineers, obviously we're very qualified to do that, or you do this thing that everyone says they want to do and they work in a machine shop. It's like, oh, I'll just start my own. And I had done on the side for, I don't know, 3 years or so, I had been welding custom bicycles. So I had a little bit of experience with running my own business. I was never making a lot of money doing that, but I had an LLC and I had some machinery in my house. So we kind of had that knowledge, and then our knowledge learned at the shop. And we're like, at, our previous employer. So we're like, okay, we have all the things we need here. So we just kind of started chatting about it and seeing if the numbers would make sense and what it would take. And, I think that process was like a 6-month thing. Maybe we were like chatting and writing things down and kind of like running some basic numbers. Um, and then eventually we kind of came to the conclusion that like, yeah, I think we can do this. I think we've got the skills. We can get a loan. We can figure out a place to move into. Yeah. And then from there, it was like starting to move forward.
Hey, everybody. Everyone's pushing AI into quoting right now. And look, AI can be powerful, but in manufacturing, it can also be risky. If you don't know where your RFQs are going, who can access them, or how your data is being handled, that's a serious problem. And that's where we talk about secure AI. And that's where Paperless Parts stands out. Paperless Parts is built specifically for manufacturers. Their CMMC compliant platform uses secure AI to take the busy work off of your estimators, organizing RFQ packages, surfacing key details, and centralizing your entire quoting workflow so your team can focus on actually estimating. And when they say secure, they mean it. They maintain rigorous security standards, including a FedRAMP moderate equivalent security posture verified by a third-party assessment organization. It's built for shops preparing for CMMC Level 2. If you want the speed of AI without the risk, go to paperlessparts.com. That's paperlessparts.com. Quoting made simple, profitable, and powerful. Let's talk about some of that early risk and decision making and the loan and just kind of like where you guys were at emotionally and like you're like, wow, let's start our own business. Right now you have or at the time you had a job that was real secure and maybe you weren't thrilled with it, but it was pretty
Mhm.
safe. And then you took that leap of faith. So kind of walk us through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the whole risk thing. Fortunately, Pittsburgh is a very affordable town to live in. Sean and I both own our homes. We were able to do that like in our early 20s, and we are able to fix a lot of the expenses in our lives. Uh, so we had a good understanding of what it cost us to survive. And as we were starting to think about pursuing this, we were like, okay, how much time can we go without having any money like coming in at all to understand, you know, and how we can maximize the runway we have to figure all of this out. We sort of put that at like, okay, we can take maybe like 10 months of having zero income, um, and continue to like focus on this full time. Uh, and we both had been saving money up for something. And once we realized this is what we were doing, like, oh, this is the thing we've been saving money for. Uh, our relationship with that side of finance, at least for me personally, shifted. I was like, oh, I don't need to be perhaps earning as much to save because the thing I've been saving for is happening right now. It started my own business. This has been the thing. And everything kind of just went into that for the first year or so. I think that was big. Fortunate for us in our part of Pennsylvania, there's a lot of uh, economic development boards that are interested in supporting small businesses. So we worked with the Small Business Development Center that's based out of the University of Pittsburgh, but it's part of a larger network throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And so we were like, hey, here's what we want to do. And we started writing our business plan. They guided us through writing a business plan. They developed financial projections for us over the first 3 years based on what we observe in the industry and looking at industry trends. And then they like figured out what growth could be predicted. And they connected us with a projection based lender in the region. So because the acronym is CDFI, which is like Community Development Financial Institution. So unlike a traditional bank that would require you to have 3 years of business records to understand, these lending organizations specialize in projections-based projections-based lending, and we were able to present these projections along with our business plan. It worked out, and they were able to give us a $200,000 loan, which we put towards buying equipment and giving us some runway for paying our utilities and then making any other improvements that needed to happen. And so once we got that loan, we quit our jobs.
That is awesome.
I love it.
Fellas, hey, well, I got you both real quick. So I'm really trying to drill in like our work holding options at Hill and all of our shops. Got any advice?
Mike, it's as simple as RASRAM.
As what?
RASRAM, you've never heard of it?
I have not.
Paul?
What Nick is referring to is the 7 habits of highly effective work holding:
That makes more sense.
repeatability, accessibility, scalability, reliability, adaptability, and modularity.
If you want to find all of these principles in one catalog, check out the SMW Autoblok catalog. You can find it at smwautoblok.com.
Thanks, fellas.
I'm glad you shared your experience with the SBDC.
Yeah.
We, in my shop days, we also leaned heavily on our SBDC here in Washington State. It's a great national program. I recommend it to anyone in their area if they're looking to start a business. We didn't do it at the very beginning. We did it when we needed saving after 9/11, and we were almost going bankrupt, and we realized we didn't actually know how to run a business very well. And we got tied up with a coach there who helped us for many years after that, and it was instrumental. So, yeah, great resource. Call out on that.
Well, I'm thrilled you brought up the CDFI. I haven't. It's been years since I've dealt with the CDFI, but that is such a great funding source.
For sure. Yeah, there's a couple of them in Pittsburgh, and they all kind of have different focus areas. Some are more interested in like higher risk startup lending. Some have
Sure.
more interest in backing more capital intensive projects like building acquisitions. But yeah, that network's it's pretty great. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and there's one close to everybody.
And so, what would, after you quit your jobs and just give us the next, year's worth, bought your machines, found a spot, how did you find jobs?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first, I don't know, June through October probably was just building out this space. This building we moved into was essentially an open, empty shell. We had to install HVAC. We had to get an electrical upgrade because it only had 200 amps, a single phase power, and that wasn't going to be enough. We had to build some walls, paint walls, install windows. So that first, 4 to 6 months was just doing that full time. And then finally, we were able to start trying to get some work. We weren't interested in pushing too hard with the sales stuff until we had a space where we could actually make things. We were a little nervous about, creating these relationships with potential customers and then them asking for something and then us saying, well, we can't quite do it yet. Our machines aren't running. And then they'd be like, well, screw this. And then they would never come back to us. So we were pretty determined to only start doing serious sales work once we were ready. I guess that sort of helped us. It allowed us to just kind of hit the ground running. Like as soon as we started reaching out to people, we were able to do work. And people were pretty thrilled to have super quick turn availability because we didn't have work. So we're like, hey, we can get your parts in 3 days. They're like, oh my gosh, our other shops are 3 weeks out. You're like, yeah, well, we don't have any work, so this works out great for us. But we had a lot of connections from our time at Pitt, like other cohorts of our class that went on to be engineers at all the other companies in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of robotics here because of Carnegie Mellon. There's a lot of like small to medium roboticsy startups that have sprung out of that university. So, they always need brackets and heat sinks and whatever else. We also are a Xometry partner. We do a good deal of work with them. It's like very, very easy to get work from Xometry. You just go on the board and pick out work. So that's been really big. I don't think without that, I think it would have been a much slower ramp up to getting to the point where we're actually comfortable and able to pay ourselves and all that.
And what year did you actually open your doors after you were done with the build out and ready to take on work?
This would have been 2024.
Yeah,
June.
it would have been June 2024. We get financed for our loan, and then we're probably by October of 2024 starting to schedule work. That's about right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just a year and a few months here.
Yeah.
For full-time operations, it's
Yeah,
a little
year
over
and a
a
half
year.
ish. Yeah.
So what that initial equipment look like?
Yeah. So our first machine it's a DMU 50, so 5-axis, 450
Solid.
by 500 millimeter travels. From the jump, we knew what we wanted to be doing was like we wanted to be making very high end parts. We wanted to specialize in machining titanium, Inconel, and difficult to machine materials. Our specialization is going to be we're going to take on hard, complex geometry components that are going to be, maybe we're not making 1,000 of them per month, but we can, bring our expertise to make a few really excellent, perhaps more boutique, components as a way to distinguish ourselves. So we felt that aligned with our workforce, the two of us, and how we could, generate the sort of revenue we need to run our business. So we focused on like telling that narrative. It's like, we may not be the cheapest shop, but we will make things really well. And we are going to specialize in, materials that some other shops choose to shy away from, or processes that you might want to adopt. Because we were fortunate to have the exposure and the expertise to operate in those. And part of why we chose that machine is because it is in line with that sort of narrative. Like, we are investing in higher end equipment, and we need equipment that can kind of meet the expectations we bring. So we have that machine. We also have a sort of medium format Haas VF3 with the extended Y travel, as like a basic 3-axis machine that could kind of do op twos or whatever else comes in. And then you had a small CNC machine in your garage. So it's the doll
EMC. It's
Yeah.
like 20 by 14. It's like a little thing.
And we have an Okuma LB15 with live tooling. No Y-axis, but you can do axial and radial operations. And that's
Sweet.
been sweet. Yeah, it's been a good setup. I think like the DMU is definitely at the center of a lot of what we do. But it's been a good little quiver of machines for the work we've taken on till now.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
how much of your work would you say is like true simultaneous 5-axis milling work versus how much are
0.
you just it's
It's
kind of what
sim-
I thought you would say.
That
Yeah.
machine cannot do simultaneous 5-axis.
Oh, I can't. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
But-
weird era where they
Yeah.
they had a table option that was only 3 plus. Well, you can index wherever, but
Yeah.
it's fixed indexing. You can't move all 5 axes at once.
I mean, I think even so, what I see so often is people are just buying 5-axis mills and doing everything in one op, even if it's not like a 5-axis part.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Would that be in line with kind of how you guys think?
absolutely. Or at least taking it from being 4 or 5 ops to 2 ops. We
Mhm.
do a lot of parting things off where it'll be like a final operation that's really to clean up a face. The majority of it being done on the 5-axis machine. Yeah, we do a lot of all that, or window painting approaches when necessary.
We have also been working on trying to fix our post. Like, the machine is not supposed to be able to do any simultaneous movement, but we're pretty convinced that it actually can if you trick it. So I think we're in the process of working on our post to try to. It'll never do full 5, but we're pretty convinced it can do 4. I think we can move X, Y, Z, and C all at the same time. So we're working on trying to be able to do that. So then we could do like, classic fourth work on it, where it's like a spiral or something like that. And then eventually, we'd like to replace this machine with something that actually can do full 5, but we haven't really needed it yet, so it hasn't
Yeah,
been.
there's not that many parts out there that need that. I'm curious to dig into why you decided the harder materials as opposed to aluminum or anything
Better
else.
margins. It's just like everyone, for whatever reason, maybe it's just like an old school mentality from people who are used to using high speed steel. Like, a lot of shops seem to shy away from harder materials, so we can charge more for it. And to us, it's not that much more difficult. Like, our suite of standard tooling in our machines, half of it is, for hard materials. So
Mhm.
it's just as easy as slapping an aluminum part in the machine for us, because all the tools are already in the machine.
And did you learn about the higher margin work and at your old shop? Like you guys specialized in that as well, and you were winning those, and you made better profit on those jobs versus
They were
other
doing
things.
a lot of titanium there,
Okay.
and a bit of stainless. Yeah, I guess for us, it was just we were exposed to all those things. We had machined lots of stainless parts and lots of titanium parts and lots of mild steel parts. So to us, it just like wasn't a big deal. I guess I'm not sure at what point we realized that like, oh, we can charge a lot more for this. I think you can see that on the Xometry board, even if you're looking through there, looking for jobs. A reasonably simple aluminum part that'll be up there for like $300, and you're like, who's doing this? And then a reasonably simple stainless steel part will be up there for $2,000, and you're like, this is the same thing, but
Yeah.
it's just stainless steel. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think I'm not sure why people are scared of those materials, but I think it should stay that way. People should stay afraid of it.
Yeah.
We can do it for high margin. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll edit out the part where you say it's not a big deal, and we'll just be like, we can cut in like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't
It's
believe it.
Yeah, work
Yeah.
hard. What else do people say? Gummy. That's what they say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're also whatever our engineering background, whatever school taught us, like we're not afraid to research and like look into things and call the cutting tool manufacturers. Be like, here's what you do. You know, we had the information is out there, and I guess we're fortunate enough to like feel comfortable seeking it out and
Hmm.
ask those questions and then do it. And like the cutting tool manufacturers are incredible. They have a lot of information about how to run their tools, and they design things specifically for these applications. I think we lean on that a lot, and it works as it should.
I think there's live calculators like the Helical Harvey Machine Advisor Pro. Features like that are a huge reason why this stuff is easy for us. Like those obviously didn't exist 20 years ago because it's a web-based thing. It's so nice. You just like you plug in your tool, you tell it what material it is, you tell it what your step over and your step down is, and then it'll just tell you what speed it should be running. It's often vastly different from what the speeds and feeds charts say. The charts are very, very conservative, so you'd be going really, really slow. But our surface footage and cutting rates are like kind of almost close-ish to what you would do for aluminum, just because our machine doesn't spin all that fast. I guess another thing. Those calculators make a big difference.
Well, we always ask about like your influences and your mentors and things like that whenever we interview the young founders. And I love that you shared that some of the like tooling suppliers and you know in a previous episode they talked about the install team of the machine. The gentleman was like, yeah, I just hung around the service guy and the install guy, and I learned a lot from him. And yeah, for those that are listening who are on that side of this, that calculator you've brought up a few times, the content that you create that's helpful, people use that. And
Absolutely.
let me guess, you probably buy their tools too, right?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, because their website's easy to use. It's like everything's right there. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that level of customer support. I mean, it's one of the reasons that like it's something that I think Haas is doing extremely well. They've got like very highly produced videos on how to use their machines,
Mhm.
what, and even like things that aren't even machine specific. Like they'll tell you about the different kinds of tap geometry and like all this information they're putting out there for free is really great and like makes people brand loyal. And I don't know, becoming a source
Sure.
of like truth in the industry like that, I think is a really excellent thing that some companies are choosing to do.
Yeah, I use so Haas had one on like coolant, like how to maintain your coolant. They had some videos on that. At my family's business, we make chip conveyors and coolant tanks and coolant filtration systems. And I shared one of those videos, and I was like, we ought to be the one putting this content out there.
Yeah.
And so just to your point, like those that really educate and share are usually the brands that the user prefers. Super excited to bring Jason Ray from Paperless Parts in for a quick little segment here. And, as we do this Generation CNC series, Jason, it's like so frequently we're hearing about, hey, how'd you get that first initial customer, that initial set of work that kind of made your business viable? And, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it feels like oxygen. Like, oh, I can finally breathe. I've got some cash coming into the business, but it can also be kryptonite too.
and it can cripple your business if you're not careful. So what are your thoughts on that, and the role that your business and your mission with Paperless Parts can play in trying to make sure that the initial jobs that come in are the right jobs and that they're going to be profitable for the business?
Yeah, just a few thoughts. I mean, I think unraveling that, you need to understand what type of work is profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that in the early days comes back to your piece of equipment and your skill set. And I think a lot of this industry prides itself on being really good at everything and having a lot of dexterity. And I can tell you definitively that the shops that we see scale define an ideal part profile. So what does the ideal part look like for you, for your existing tooling, for your existing machine, your existing fixturing, your existing capabilities? And then you go out and you communicate the heck out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that and being really disciplined around what that bullseye looks like, it allows you to take a lot of the complexity out of running your business. So let's give an example. So you've been in 1,000 shops plus, right? You have two different types of shops. You have the shop you go in that has 8,000 tools in their tool room, and they've got every type of machine, and they went out and they have, there's the wire EDM that is collecting dust or set up like a fishbowl, and there's freaking goldfish swimming around in the damn thing. And you've got that lathe that you bought because you had that one job that was going to pay for the piece of equipment, and everything's a different brand. And you have that one crusty person that knows how to run one machine, and there's only one person who can do maintenance on it. And Jay Jacobs, my co-founder, always used to hammer the Southwest business model. They fly the same type of airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
You could get bigger airplanes, you get smaller, the same airplane, because it's easy to maintain. Everyone knows how to operate it. You have the same parts positioned at every airport. Like it becomes a much more streamlined process. And I think a lot of times folks try to optimize for the most efficient path on one specific job rather than the most efficient path on your shop. So first piece of advice, define your ideal part profile, where you can make money. Second piece of advice is don't give away your time. So when I first got out of the Navy, I was getting into starting my own consulting business. I was working with manufacturers. And the best piece of advice I got from this really experienced consultant, he said, if you give away your time once to a person, they will never value it.
Oh, that's so good.
I find, and it was, so I would go out and you want to prove yourself, right? You're young, you're entrepreneurial. You're like, I'm going to take this hill. So I'll do a project. I'll do it at really cheap. They'll appreciate that. They will then have a loyalty to me. And like all that altruistic stuff is bullshit. It really is.
Yeah.
Because you set an expectation and an ROI that then they expect. Yeah. And the second you try to deviate from that, they don't know that you're doing
what happened
them a
when
favor.
you were doing this just for the favor, just out of the
what do
goodness
you mean?
of your heart? Yeah.
These two parts look almost identical. You made that one for $80. Now you want $160 on this?
Yeah.
Don't give away your time. Just don't.
Yeah.
Like so many owners don't charge for their time. So I think nailing your ideal part profile, and let's put some guardrails around that. So Paperless Parts, we have product functionality that does manufacturability analysis. It will automatically write rules and determine whether a part's in the right size, in the right degrees of axes that you need, in the right material. So you can triage very large packages quickly. Now, big mistake young shop owners make. They quote everything. That's a mistake. Don't do it. Second,
because when you're doing that, you're giving away your time for work that you're probably not a good fit for. If you take it, you shouldn't have taken it. And you're just you don't even feel like that's giving away your time because you're not doing anyone a favor, but you are giving away your time.
It perpetuates. The problem is the second you quote everything, your customers either think you can do everything or they think you're terrible at the things that you overprice. So you're much better off quoting the work that's a really good fit for your shop at the right price for your business so you can make money, including paying yourself, because not paying yourself isn't going to get you anywhere. It'll get you right into the burnout house. Like, don't do that. So Pick your ideal part profile, build rules around that, stick to the rules because there's an opportunity cost. You go run bad work on a machine, customer wants you to turn work quickly that is good work. Now you're caught. What do you do? Now I can't take that on. And especially in the early days where maybe you got a couple of machines, it's not like you got 50 machines with capacity to flex and move the way your customers need to. You need to be really disciplined. I'd rather keep a machine not running and have well communicated capabilities out to my customers so that when they send me requests, I take that work, I win that work, I make that work, rather than keep a machine humming, like you said, but you're basically every chip you cut is $1 that you're losing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And the business is too unforgiving to do that kind of stuff because you make one mistake on a bad job and you lose your whole business.
Yeah, you know, we end every episode with if you're not making chips, you're not making money. And to end this segment, we're trying to make sure people understand you can be making chips and still losing money if you're not careful. And so tell people how they can find Paperless Parts. Where can they learn more?
Check out paperlessparts.com. We're at almost every event that you go to, so please come stop by, see our booths. And at the same time, if you have questions, you can always email me directly, jason@paperlessparts.com.
Hey, thanks for joining and inspiring the next generation of machine shop entrepreneurs, man.
Exciting time.
Well, I love your focus on the hard metals. You know, I know a bunch of shops that are specializing in that now, and I've even run across some investment companies that are, or folks that are looking to buy shops that do hard metals specifically because of just where we're at. Industries that are strong, you know, there are a lot of hard metals that need to be made going forward, especially, you know, space industry, tons of stuff in all these rocket engines. So it's definitely a growing niche.
Yeah, I guess part of it maybe is the cutting tool technology has improved a lot. It makes it easier. I don't know.
Yeah. And the new tool paths from CAM systems that are
yeah, that's a huge part as well.
Yeah. So beyond those early, you know, connections that you had from Pitt and other places locally, have you guys expanded now, you know, nationally, or where's your sales growth been?
Yeah, I mean, we do because of the parcel carriers. You know, we're able to ship parts anywhere. I think it's easier for us to develop connections locally. We like working with local customers, and they like working with us. You know, we chose to locate our shop in city limits, like in the city near people, so that we can be close to buyers and they can come here, pick their parts up in the morning if they need them quick, or we can stop over. But as far as growth beyond that, I don't know. I guess how would we push that? It's like LinkedIn connections. I think LinkedIn is like kind of crazy how much you can get done if you're willing to be a dog on LinkedIn and message people.
A dog. Mike is a dog on LinkedIn, literally with his dog posts every week.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Even this year, like we weren't staying very active, and I made a point to like post every week. And people are just reaching out and like DMing us and sending us messages, and just that like I'm not sure what's going on in LinkedIn like servicing algorithm, but something about staying active has worked. And people are like, hey, I saw your post about titanium and I need to get these things made. It's like, okay. And other, you know, we haven't tried too many other sales marketing approaches, but the shop is full and busy. So
I was just gonna say, do you feel like you've got all that you can handle right now, or I mean, what is your plan for scaling? Is it currently just the two of you still?
yeah, it's just us. It's the two of us. Yeah, and we're in terms of our facility we're in right now, we've kind of filled up the floor space. And growth for us it's unlikely to look like adding a huge workforce. We talked about this a lot, and for a couple of reasons. As we advance to a larger facility, we will need to add some people to the team, but it's hard to find well-trained people who fit like the requirements of what we need. I think, at least in this part of the country, in Western Pennsylvania, the trade school pipeline is not very strong for machining, so finding local talent is a little tricky. And so, like investments for us, we're definitely looking at like pallet pull systems and automation as a way to extend our cycle time, you know, into more lights out situations.
Can you retrofit the machines you already have with the pallet pools after the fact with like the DMG, for example?
You could, yeah. I don't know if we will. I guess it depends on where we are money wise when we cross this bridge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suspect both machines could handle third party pallet pools.
Awesome. I like the approach of just like getting everything you can out of the machine that can technically run 24/7, right? And
Yeah.
There's a
versus
lot
just
going
buying
on.
the next machine and
Yeah.
when they're not fully utilized.
Yeah, that's like a huge. I feel like it was IMTS last year, maybe the year before. It was just like all of these cobot cells. Everybody was like showing off the whatever 6-axis arms for loading. I think the access point on that stuff has really come down as being like a retrofit option. There's a couple of third party solutions that seem to be fairly competitively priced now.
Hmm. Yeah, it's certainly getting more accessible and affordable.
I noticed you guys have your AS9100 already. Tell us about
Yeah,
tell us about doing that.
Yeah, I guess that's another big piece of our kind of sales strategy here is, like Sinjin said earlier, our whole goal is like we want to do really high end, really complex aerospace parts. Like that's kind of the whole goal here. And it's like, well, if we want to do that, we're going to need this cert. So we spent the last year, ish, 6 months to a year working with a consultant to like develop all of our procedures and processes and get all the documentation in place. And then we had our audit in December. Yeah. We haven't done a whole lot. We said once we get the cert, we're gonna make a big sales push to see if we can get like a influx of this aerospace work. But we've been too busy to do that, which is good. One of these months, maybe it'll slow down enough that we can make a concerted effort to reach out to this big list of aerospace companies we've compiled over the last few years.
Well, don't wait till it's already slowed down.
Yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For sure.
but so that's kind of the plan. Is we're gonna. I guess we haven't directly had a lot of like aerospace work related to the cert, but we have had a couple customers come to us recently, and they said, "Hey, like, it'll be easier to do work with you because you have this quality management system in place. Like it's much easier to convince my boss that we should buy from you versus anybody else or whatever." So I think it's already started to pay off, um, even if we haven't directly got any serious aerospace work yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
So, Mike, Paul, is this the first time we've had like, two partners that aren't related or anything like that on
Maybe
this
so,
series?
yeah.
I
On the
want to get
They've
series,
both
yeah.
been on. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I want to
so.
get into that a little bit too. So, you guys you've got this like work marriage you have to manage here, like how does that work? Yeah, you guys get along pretty good, or you have to figure out
that's
how
what
to deal with when
Fight
maybe
it
you
out in the
don't see eye to
back or
eye.
yeah.
Yeah,
You guys ever just beat the hell out of each other?
No.
but it's definitely worth bringing that up. I think something we did, and I guess you used the term marriage earlier. So before we started doing this, we had some conversations around like, as you might in a romantic relationship, we're gonna
Yeah.
adopt this. Like, how do you handle conflict? Like, if I disagree with something you did, how do you want me to correct you? I think we had a lot of those conversations in advance. So we knew there would be a lot of stress ahead of us, and having some systems to address that, like you would try to establish in any other sort of relationship, is really important. So we invested in that before we got super deep on this. I think it's
Yeah,
working.
very smart.
you say it like you would try to do that, but how many people do you know that jumped into a relationship where they never talked about that, and then like the first fight is their
Yeah,
last fight, and that's the end of it? So really wise on you two to
yeah,
work through all of that.
It also helped that we worked together very closely for probably 5 years, so we knew what it was like, to at least to some degree, to
hmm
work closely.
yeah,
That
Sure.
helped a lot. So it wasn't like we were getting into something without, you know, obviously it's different owning your own business together, but we see eye to eye on most business and financial related things, and we had previously determined that from those 5 years that we were working together. Um,
So is it a 50-50 deal between the two of you?
yeah.
That's awesome, and you guys
yeah,
are making it work. Sounds like really well, which I've heard before. And Mike, you've worked on more deals than I've ever seen in my life, but like never do a 50-50. Oh, it's too
yeah.
complicated like
No,
that.
it's
I mean, it seems like you guys are proof that it can work and it can work really well, but the prerequisite stuff that you did, making sure, hey, look, there's gonna be some inevitable conflict or opposing views or whatever, how are we
Mhm.
going to handle that? I think that's really wise.
Yeah, I think at the heart of a lot of it is before we did this, we talked about why we wanted to do it,
That's it.
and neither of us are like our first motivation in life is not to make money or to be rich. It's like we want to have control of our lives and our schedules, and starting our own business felt like the ultimate expression of control, at least in our working life. Um, and maintaining that and being able to have our hobbies and do the things we want to do with our time and not explain that I have to take 30 minutes off to go to the dentist and all of those things is like the primary driver, and just like sort of frustrations of working for other people where a lot of systems are in place in American work culture that you're like, why are we pretending to do all this? Can't I just like go grab a coffee or do whatever? And any other job we took, I think we still would have existed within that. And Sean and I are aligned in like what we care first of all is quality of life. And certainly money is a part of quality of life, but our business is in such a place that we're able to make enough money to afford the quality of life we want. And then the other things that money can't necessarily buy, like owning your time, is what we're really working for.
Another
Awesome.
time freedom proponent.
Yep.
We keep saying this
yeah.
word time freedom.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like we
that.
work a lot, but it feels different because we only work because we have to. You don't have to like fill your 8 hours. I don't know, it's a big thing. Emotionally for me, it was a big change. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, I think we probably work more than we did before, but it doesn't feel like it because
Yeah.
we actually have to. You're not just like wasting time. Like, if we only have 4 hours of work to do one day, we're going to do 4 hours of work and then we're going to go home.
Mhm.
We're not just stuck working 8 hours just because we have to.
Well, and then especially as you add automation and you start to run more and more unattended, you're still productive, you're still making money, and
Absolutely.
you're able to go to the dentist or go do whatever your hobbies are,
It
So I
is.
love
Going to the dentist, my ultimate hobby.
Yeah.
it.
In manufacturing, growth isn't accidental, it's engineered. But a lot of suppliers are still building their pipeline on outdated lists, inconsistent follow up, and hope based marketing, hoping their website will somehow bring in leads. Gabe Draper, the founder of Factur, knows that struggle. Years ago, he ran a shop that went bankrupt, not because of quality, but because he didn't have a steady way to generate new opportunities. That experience is what led him to build Factur. Factur helps suppliers create consistent sales opportunities by combining targeted outreach with marketing that puts you in front of the right buyers. Their team finds the right companies, starts real conversations, and sets qualified meetings. So if your pipeline swings with referrals or seasonality, Factur brings a system that puts you back in control. And for listeners of this show, Factur is offering a free custom report that highlights the best opportunities in your industry, plus a list of real companies that match what you do. Request yours at facturmfg.com/chips. That's FACTUR mfg.com/chips.
Do you see, you talked about, moving facilities and maybe having to, add a few folks and stuff. Do you see that being like a core part of the values of your company at that point, and that you want everybody to have that freedom?
Absolutely. I think, when it comes to job creation, like, I don't want to make a bad job or, part of the reason we're reluctant to jump into that is I think that there's like a base amount that somebody should be paid in any situation, and especially like in a high skill industry like this. And I wouldn't want to create that job until we're able to provide that amount of income for somebody. Um, and at the state our business is in right now, very much sort of nascent and starting, there are a lot of expectations that I think are reasonable to put on a founder because it's like this is your thing, you're creating it, that is an unrealistic expectation to place on an employee
Sure.
until a lot of those things have been worked through and things have been established in a certain regard, and the risk of all this falling apart is pushed off at least a little bit more.
Sure.
It just feels kind of irresponsible to bring somebody else into the situation right now.
It's a great way to look at it. I just, I was curious because, you talked about when you guys left the other place, it was as some of those kind of rules started falling in place. And
Yeah.
I know, like, in my perfect world, I think I probably agree with your guys' viewpoint on things. What's what's unfortunate as you do add more and more and more people,
Mhm.
If you don't have any guardrails up,
Mhm.
right? If you don't have some of those rules that drove you off, then it's just not everybody's mature enough to to have that freedom, right? And I mean, that sounds maybe wrong. I don't know, but um, I don't know. That's what I've found because I wish I could get more freedom in a lot of areas,
Sure.
and then just nothing happens.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, some people do, but they're going to do it with or without those guardrails,
Sure.
right?
Right.
They're focused and they do their thing. But then others, it does get difficult.
Yeah. I think maybe the way to do it would be coming up with some uh, way to incentivize the behavior that you want out of
Yeah,
whoever it is. I think that was one of my complaints about where we used to work before is like they would expect certain behavior, but they wouldn't really incentivize that behavior. They would just kind of punish you if you didn't do that behavior. And it's like, oh, I can think of 3 very easy ways that we could incentivize people to behave in the way you want, but I don't know. There's like this punitive nature of our work culture in a lot of ways that
yeah,
people aren't willing to, like, they want to punish you for some reason. I'm like, well, if you, I don't know. I'm sure there's a
yeah. No,
whole to go into this, but
I mean, it's honestly one of the hardest things as you're growing an organization is to
I'm sure.
to balance all that out. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I was curious too if you don't mind sharing, and if you do, that's fine. Just say shut up. But um, you mentioned like you feel like there's kind of a minimum um income that someone should expect from this type of job. What is that in your mind?
Question. I think if it's like a programmer, machinist, like high skilled person, I would like to be able to pay them at least 80K.
Yeah.
I think.
So like
Yeah,
you're like able to operate a CAM package and set up without, just then you can design fixtures and take apart like cradle to grave using, maybe you can't program and operate a CMM, but you can use hand tools and everything to qualify
yeah,
this as possible. I think $80,000 is a good starting point.
yeah,
That's
yeah. It seems
incredible.
perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
So you guys did a fair bit of planning before, worked with the SBDC, create your business
Yeah.
plan. How are you doing against your business plan? I know sometimes you build like best case, worst case,
Yeah.
middle case.
Yeah.
How's it going?
We uh we like doubled our expectations for revenue in our first year.
Good
Nice.
for
It's pretty
you.
sweet.
Yeah, we're pretty
Yeah.
thrilled.
So it was a good first year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
And we were
fantastic.
pretty conservative with all of our numbers just to be very, very safe.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
nice to see that we could, live up to the expectations we set for ourselves.
And enough of that turned into profit that you could pay your loan down and just
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're in a good, hopefully pay yourselves before you didn't have to go full 10 months without taking a single penny out of it.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think starting in March of last year, we were able to start paying ourselves.
That's
Yeah, I think
great.
we're paying ourselves about as much as we were when we left our old jobs
Yeah.
and,
Excellent.
are saving money for the business. So things turned around pretty quick once we started getting working.
Yeah. Got to get parts out the door, don't you?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. But once that started happening, things are all right. So we're feeling fortunate that way.
Yeah. Congrats on all the
Yeah, thanks for
success.
sharing that. That is
Yeah,
very
of course.
cool. That's encouraging.
And I like what you said about the compensation expectations too, because there's like levels to this, as our buddy Titan would say. There's levels to this game, and I'm just quickly Googled. Okay, like don't ping me to this, but like average degree salary 60ish, maybe for engineering it's 60 to 70 here. Highest paying fields computer science, engineering, finance, and you just said like a very competent machinist that can run a CAM package. That's what it's worth to you as owners and
Yeah.
founders, and that's in line with what we see.
Yeah, I think we just
Uh,
I saw on LinkedIn like Juan Marsh of Jacksonville Precision Manufacturing just put up a posting for $80,000 for a cam, like for that exact
Mhm.
role. Like people are paying, like looking for that. That exists out there, and I think
Yeah.
they're an example of a shop that's doing things all the right ways.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. I love it, and
Yeah.
yeah, I wish more people knew that. Back to the full circle to that point about like the most educated and where the manufacturing jobs are. And then someone who went down one of those rabbit trails from my LinkedIn post was like connecting that to the surplus of the state and the overall compensation of the individual. And they just kept adding elements to that little thing I framed. And it's like, these are great jobs. these are great jobs. And
Tremendous job.
is that person a machinist? Yes. Yes, that person's a machinist. So when you say like average wage of a machinist, the number's going to be a lot lower. Like
Totally.
if you just from the data, but like what is a machinist? Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
level are you at?
Yeah,
And I
it's pretty
think,
big house for sure.
yeah, I think that's pretty good to encourage people to go into this and realize, hey, that's a great starting point. And look
Yep.
at you guys. I mean, machinists that now have your own business, and it's been very successful, and it's really exciting. And I think it's really encouraging, and it should be encouraging to those that are listening that maybe just started their business or are thinking about starting their business. Um, Great opportunities in the metalworking nation.
So as you reflect back on this, year and a half or so that you've actually been making chips, um, given the fact that you've doubled your original plan, what do you think were the things that you did that were critical to that success?
I think meeting customer expectations or exceeding them. We would say we would get things done in a certain amount of time, and we would do that. And people would, the parts would work and they would order from us again. I think establishing that reliability
Mm-hmm.
and being very, our value add, we see it as like when you do business with us, you're doing business with us. It's the two of
Yeah.
us. This is the company. It's a very personal thing to a degree. And I think we trade on that as a value. I think that smallness can be seen as a detriment for some buyers, but it's seen as a value for others. And I think we prioritize business relationships where people saw the value in working with people who are able to take an interest in their project, people with an engineering awareness that can give DFM feedback, and we can have a higher level conversation, and we can understand your application.
Mm-hmm.
And we've found some buyers who think that that's valuable and continue to come back to us. So I think, bringing
Nice.
a real focus to the human element of our relationships with people has paid off for us.
We're also very reasonably conservative with our time estimates. So that allows us to almost always deliver on time. Like we will not take work if we cannot handle it, which to me seems like a very obvious thing, but according to buyers I've talked to, that's not a very obvious thing. I guess a lot of shops are just taking work just because it's there, whether or not they can do it. Like we very specifically are only taking work if we can actually handle it that week or the next week or whatever. And I think
Yeah,
that's been good
I
for our reputation.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
think that helps you battle against the bias of like these are young guys and it's a young business and maybe
Yeah.
like is the maturity going to be there? Can we
Right.
trust them? You
Mhm.
take that stance, maybe being on the more conservative end of the spectrum to make sure you can always deliver on time and really establish that credibility and trust. And do you feel like that helps you overcome the maybe uncertainty of like, hey, these two young entrepreneurs versus a well-established 50-year-old machine shop?
Yeah, I think part of it is we just act like we're a well-established machine shop. And
I love it.
that seems to go over pretty well with people.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like once you get in the door and once you deliver one order to the people and they're excited and it's on time, then they don't think about it anymore. We honestly have not heard. I don't know. Maybe people say it without not directly to us, but we have not heard a whole lot of, "Oh, we're hesitant to work with you because you're only 30." I don't know. That's
Well, I mean,
not
I'll be
the
honest. You guys are super wise. You're smart people. I'm Googling some of the words you're saying while we're talking. So you don't seem like a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I think it's that. It's like you said, we act like this is a business. We are serious about what we're doing. We say no when we can't do something. We're very clear about that.
we have real email addresses.
We have a real address. Like
It's not
this,
Gmail.
here and see us. We do shop tours for people, and we prioritize having a very clean and very professional looking shop. It's like very well organized because it's all part of the story we're trying to tell. It's like we are a serious place that does high precision work that makes excellent parts. And we think that our facility visually reflects that. And I think people see
Yeah.
that like, oh yeah, okay, these people are legit. This isn't like a garage.
Well, no one could see it from the podcast audience because they could just see you guys on the webcam. But I think that they heard it. And they absolutely heard that you guys run a really legit company. And
Hey, this is also our shittiest room that
It
we're in.
is.
The office is kind of shitty to keep us home.
Yeah.
But the rest of the shop is painted and clean and
no, it helps you with the entrepreneurial story. Like everything we own is in these two lockers.
yeah, sure.
Right.
So good though, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any like parting words of advice for your peers or?
Joe always talks.
Oh yeah, our buddy Joe Bergenbuck at Kerber Frame Building. Like he started a machine shop business making his own product. I don't know, probably 5 years before we did. And I was always talking to him because I was involved in the bike frame building world. And his like big piece of advice that we talk about all the time is like, if you want to start something, you need to do it full time. It's like that's difficult in a lot of cases because it's expensive to not get paid for 10 months.
Mhm.
But I think that was like what allowed us to ramp up so quickly is that our like kind of weird transition period where we were still working a job, but like trying to start this, that was very short. That was like maybe 4 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just full time. And I think, I don't know, I guess part of that is getting a real startup loan. It's scary to have this big monthly expense, but that will allow you to get things going more quickly. And then once you're moving, that monthly expense becomes pennies. Like it just doesn't matter anymore. It's only scary for the first 6 months or so, and then you're just making enough money to cover it. So I guess that's the big piece of advice that I think that we, like I said, we talk about all the time. It's like if you really are interested in doing this, I think jumping in and doing it full time is the only way it's going to really, really work, at least in a reasonable time frame.
That's good advice. Yeah,
Yeah,
burn the
that's solid.
boats.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to do it. You have to be available between 9 and 5. That's when business happens.
Sure.
You know, if you're trying to do this in the evenings all the time, it's going to be really hard to achieve what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you so much for that advice, and thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about Three Rivers Precision, where would you direct them?
You can go to threeriversprecision.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. And you can email us we take all our RFQs to hello@threeriversprecision.com. That's all spelled out like it is.
Yep.
He does here. That's also all on our website. So.
I like that. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. We should use that.
Yeah, the
We're
person
gonna steal that from you guys.
We stole it from someone else. We stole our friend who, a friend of a
Oh, he
friend who
steals.
designed our logo and all of that. Her onboarding email was hello at whatever her company was called, and I was like, oh, that's cute. I like that. So
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
really
that
cool.
is clever.
Well, awesome. As you guys know, if you're not working on your new business full time, you're not making chips.
And if you're not making chips,
You're not making money.
Bam.
bam.